The harmattan breeze blew gently through the cracked windows of the modest bungalow, rustling the lace curtains as Zainab stepped into the parlor. Her mother's eyes wouldn't meet hers, and her uncle sat stiffly in his usual armchair, fingers tapping on his walking stick. Something felt off. "Sit down," her uncle said, not unkindly, but with an edge of finality. Zainab obeyed slowly, confusion dancing in her eyes. She was just returning from her tailoring apprenticeship, her head still filled with fabric patterns and dreams of one day owning a small fashion boutique. But the air in the room was heavy, the kind that choked before any words were spoken. "Zainab," her mother finally said, her voice barely above a whisper, "your uncle has brought a very important proposal." Zainab's heart skipped. A proposal? Her uncle leaned forward, a proud smile playing on his lips. "Alhaji Musa, a very wealthy and respected man, wants you as his wife." The words sank slowly, like lead in water. Zainab blinked. "Alhaji Musa? The same one who was honored at the mosque last week? He's almost 70. "Yes," her uncle confirmed. "And he's offering a good bride price. Enough to rebuild this house and settle our debts. Do you know what that means for this family?" Zainab turned to her mother, pleading silently for help. Her mother sighed, her face worn with years of hardship. "My daughter, sometimes we must sacrifice for the ones we love. This is the best chance we've had in years." Tears welled in Zainab's eyes. Her dreams, her youth, her freedom, all threatened to be snatched away in the name of survival. "But what about what I want?" she whispered. "You're a girl," her uncle snapped. "And a girl must understand her place." Zainab stood up slowly, her mind already spinning with thoughts of escape. She wouldn't be caged. Not like this. Not for money. Not for tradition. Somewhere deep inside, a fire lit. And though she didn't know how yet, she knew one thing. She would not marry Alhaji Musa. Zainab lay awake that night, her thoughts tangled in fear and desperation. The oil lamp beside her flickered, casting long shadows on the faded walls. How could they expect her to marry a man old enough to be her grandfather? Her dreams, her dignity, her entire future, all would be lost. The next morning, she left home earlier than usual, claiming she had urgent work at the tailor's shop. In truth, she needed space and answers. On her way through the narrow streets of Suralere, Zainab's heart pounded with worry. She wasn't just running from marriage. She was running from a life that wasn't hers. She stopped at a small cafe near the bus stop, one she rarely entered. But today, she needed quiet. As she sat down, sipping a cup of steaming cocoa, a familiar voice startled her. "Zainab." She turned. It was Mr. Dapo, her uncle's longtime friend. A man in his early 40s, refined and respected, with a calm strength in his voice. He was dressed in a crisp agbada and cap, holding a leather folder. "Good morning, sir," she said, rising politely. He gestured for her to sit. "You look troubled. Are you all right?" Zainab hesitated. Could she trust him? He had always been kind, but he was still her uncle's friend. Yet something in his gentle gaze urged her to speak. They want me to marry Alhaji Musa," she said softly. "I don't want to." His brow furrowed instantly. "Alhaji Musa? The 70-year-old businessman?" She nodded, tears stinging her eyes. "They say it's for the good of the family. But I can't do it, sir. I just can't." Dapo leaned back, processing the weight of her words. Then, after a moment of silence, he spoke firmly. "You shouldn't have to be sad. This is not right." Zainab looked up, surprised. "I've known you since you were a child," he continued. "Bright, full of dreams. You deserve more than to be traded for money." Her lips trembled. "But what can I do? I have no say, no one to fight for me." Dapo was quiet for a moment. Then he looked at her seriously. "Maybe you do." Her brows knitted. "What do you mean?" He exhaled slowly, the hint of a risky thought flickering in his eyes. "What if I marry you instead?" Zainab gasped. "Sir, it would stop the arrangement with Alhaji Musa. I'll speak to your uncle. I have the means to take care of you, and you'll have your freedom, at least more than you'd have with Musa." She stared at him, heart thudding. Was this real? A man offering to marry her not out of desire, but to protect her? Zainab didn't know what to say, but deep within her, a sense of hope sparked. Maybe, just maybe, this unexpected offer could be her salvation. The house was unusually quiet that evening as Zainab sat in her room, her heart pounding with uncertainty. Her mother had noticed her unusual silence, but Zainab had offered no explanation. She was still trying to process Depo's offer. It sounded surreal, a man offering marriage as protection. The next day, Depo visited her uncle's house. Zainab stayed hidden in her room, her ears straining to catch every word. "Are you here for a drink, old friend?" her uncle asked with a smile. Depo's tone was serious. "No, I'm here for something important. I want to marry Zainab." The room went still. There was a beat of stunned silence, followed by a scoff from her uncle. "You're joking." "I'm not," Depo replied calmly. "She's a fine young woman. She deserves a future, not a forced arrangement with a man 3 times her age." Her uncle's tone darkened. "You're interfering in family matters." "I'm offering a better path," Depo said firmly. "You know Al-Haji Musa will treat her like property. I'm offering her safety and dignity." Zainab couldn't believe what she was hearing. A man, her uncle's friend, was standing up for her in a way no one ever had. Her uncle argued, threatened, even accused Depo of betrayal. But Depo stood his ground. Eventually, her mother stepped in and pleaded with her brother to consider the girl's happiness. It was the only voice of reason that made him pause. By the end of the tense meeting, her uncle grudgingly agreed. "If she accepts you, then go ahead. But don't expect my blessing," he spat. Later that night, Depo visited Zainab's home again. This time, she sat across from him nervously. "You heard everything?" he asked gently. She nodded. "I won't force you," he said. "But if you say yes, I'll make sure you're never used as a bargaining chip again." Zainab looked at him, not just a man, but a lifeline. Her voice shook as she spoke. "I'll do it." And so, the preparations were made in hushed tones, away from the gossiping eyes of extended family. A quiet court wedding, no fanfare. Just a marriage sealed with a quiet agreement and a desperate hope for freedom. Zainab became Mrs. Depo Adekunle, not out of love, but out of survival. But neither of them knew that this necessity would lead to something far more powerful than they imagined. Zainab had never known what to expect from married life, especially not with a man nearly twice her age and her uncle's closest friend. But from the moment she moved into Depo's quiet, well-kept home in Acacia, it became clear this marriage would be unlike anything she had imagined. There were no demands, no expectations, no wedding night drama. Instead, Depo treated her with something she'd rarely experienced: respect. He gave her space, both emotionally and physically. Her room was hers, untouched unless she invited him in. He didn't force conversations or affection, but asked about her day with genuine interest and listened when she spoke. In the beginning, Zainab walked on eggshells, still frightened by all she had left behind. The memory of Al-Haji Musa's groping hands and greedy eyes haunted her dreams. But in this new home, she found peace in the quiet. Slowly, the silence between her and Depo began to change. It started with breakfast. One morning, she made his favorite, yam and egg sauce, a quiet thank you for his kindness. He smiled, surprised. "You made this?" She nodded shyly. "It's better than the one I used to buy at Mama D's," he teased, earning her first real smile. Then came the shared chores. He insisted on helping her with the dishes. "You're not my housemaid," he would say. "We're in this together." And slowly, walls came down. Zainab began to look forward to his stories about his travels and his work. She admired his discipline, his intellect, his ability to stay calm in the face of storms. He admired her strength, her resilience, and the way she found joy in small things, like rearranging flowers on the balcony or singing softly as she cooked. There were moments their hands brushed and electricity sparked between them, awkward, hesitant moments that left both of them quiet and thoughtful. He never touched her without invitation, and that made her feel safe. One evening, Zainab walked into the living room wearing a simple Ankara dress. Her hair was wrapped in a loose scarf, and she was laughing genuinely at something he had said. Depo looked up, caught in the moment, and something in his heart shifted. She wasn't just the girl he married to protect. She was a woman of grace, strength, and quiet beauty. Love crept in, not loudly, but softly, gently, as they learned to care for each other in the silence. And while neither had said the words yet, both knew something real was beginning to grow between them. Zainab had grown used to the quiet strength of her new life, but the past had a way of chasing even the fastest runner. One evening, as she cleared the dishes from dinner, her phone rang. The name on the screen made her freeze. Uncle Bello. She didn't answer, but the message that followed chilled her to the bone. You think marrying Depo saves you? You belong to me, Zainab. I'll find you. The fear that had slowly faded over the weeks came rushing back like a flood. Her hands trembled as she showed the message to Depo. He took the phone, read it in silence, then looked at her with a seriousness she hadn't seen before. We'll go to the police, he said firmly. He won't touch you. Not again. Not ever. But Zainab hesitated. He's powerful and connected. What if? Depo stood, walked over, and gently held her hands. Then we fight with truth and the law, and I'll stand with you. Always. True to his word, Depo filed a restraining order. He reached out to contacts who owed him favors, lawyers, journalists, women's rights activists. For the first time, Zainab wasn't running. She was facing her abuser, and she wasn't doing it alone. The media got hold of the story. Prominent politician accused by niece of abuse and coercion. Bello denied everything, but the world was listening, and Zainab was no longer afraid. Weeks later, Zainab sat on the porch watching the rain fall. Depo joined her with 2 mugs of tea. He didn't speak, just sat beside her. I don't know how to thank you, she said softly. You don't have to, he replied. You're not a debt to be paid. You're someone I care about deeply. She turned to him, heart pounding. Do you regret marrying me? He looked into her eyes. No, I only regret not meeting you sooner. And just like that, the past faded, the fear lifted, and something whole bloomed in her chest. Zainab leaned into him, no longer out of fear or need, but out of love. Together, they faced the future. A future where she was not a victim, not a pawn, not a forced bride, but a woman who had rewritten her story, found healing, and discovered that even the most unexpected love could feel like home.